After reading this book, I can see why Clive Barker had a difficult time getting this made into a film. Hello everyone, I'm author R.L. Raintree. This is Reels and Reads, where I give honest reviews and occasional spoilers. I need you to know that this entire video is going to be a spoiler, so if you've never watched any of the Hellraiser films and you've never read the Hellbound Heart, now's the time to skip this video. The film and the books have been out for like almost half a century. Like, come on, catch up. So those of you who have read my books are still trying to figure out how I got into priest kink and BDSM in my second novel, Confession. It is because of this film. I saw this film when I was 6 years old. My mother left me unattended with cable and a remote, and I watched it, and I had such a tingly sensation that I've never forgotten that to this day. Leather, black, all of it. I blame Doug Bradley. Now I want to show you the book. I got this one at Barnes & Noble this year, so in case it changes, the cover does change a lot. As you can see, you have what's commonly referred to as Pinhead, also known as the Hellbound Priest. That's why Pinhead has a cassock on. It's because he's a priest. I want to show you guys how dark and how large the font is in this book. And as a person who's visually impaired, that really helped. And that's not the large print version. With the font and the print being that big, we're at like 160 something pages, but this is probably close to like 75 to 100 pages. I don't know how this counts as a novel. It's more like a novella. It is a quick, easy read. You can read it in a day, read it in like 2 hours tops. Very easy read. Speaking of it being an easy read, Clive Barker has a way with words where if you are a person who has ASMR, be prepared to feel some things. I don't mean that this book is sexual in that way. I just mean that it's lyrical, it's poetic, and it just massages deep inside the brain. And what I mean by that is when the character Frank, and for those who are unfamiliar, Frank is the brother of well, let me just give you the characters. We have Julia, who has recently married Rory. Rory has an adult daughter named Kirsty, and Rory has a brother named Frank. Now, Rory is the good boy of the two brothers, and these are like middle-aged people, by the way. But Frank is a bad boy. If it's something that's not supposed to be done, Frank is going to get involved with that, okay? And Rory is the good guy. He did everything the right way. Him and Julia are together because that's what you're supposed to do. But one day when Rory takes her home to meet mother so much, they're looking at the family photos, and Julia can't help but feel like, I think I might have picked the wrong brother. Julie thinks he's hot. So hot that she has wild, passionate, painful sex, consensual, but painful sex with her future brother-in-law in her wedding dress. Before the nuptials. That happens in the film and the book, by the way. Now, the way Frank comes to find the lament configuration, that is the puzzle box. It is not referred to as the lament configuration in the book. We get that from the films. Is he has been traversing the world looking for the most perverse things he can get away with doing, but obviously there are limitations, and he's bored. He is literally just bored, but he keeps hearing about this box that the Marquis de Sade had, and he unlocked pleasures untold. Now, if you don't know who the Marquis de Sade is, I don't have time to tell you. Go look it up, and when you pick your drop off the floor, come back and get ready to drop it again. So he is hunting for this box. Now, someone figures out that he's hunting for this box, and they're like, I know how to open the box, but more importantly, I know how to get back. As you can see, I'm standing here before you. Now, this is not the film. This is the book. The guy tells him, I know how to get back. You got to do A, B, C, D, and E. It is the greatest pleasure you will ever know. Everything you can fucking imagine is what you're going to get out of this goddamn box. Now, they don't tell us that in the film. That's in the book, and that is a crucial detail, because I remember watching Hellraiser going, why the hell would you open this puzzle box? Like, did you think you were playing a Rubik's Cube? No, this man was perverted. This man was a problem. This man would probably be in the Epstein files. Let me just put it to you that way. And once he opens this box, the Cenobites pull up. And Clive Barker's descriptions of what they do to this man, of what this man does to himself, not realizing he's doing it to himself, it's enough to make you cringe like Jesus, and at the same time go, ooh. So if you're into BDSM, you're going to be feeling what you normally feel, that tingle, that sensation we all get from BDSM, but it's going to come to you by way of words. And some of you may not be used to that. We're used to, the spanking, the joking, maybe some leather, maybe certain, there's whatever initial in the BDSM you're into, you're usually some sort of physical contact. You're going to get that same sensation from just reading Clive Barker's words. He's a freaking genius in how he describes pleasure that pushes you to the brink of madness. Pleasure that you can't even tell anymore if it's pleasure or pain. And when I tell you I was feeling tingly reading every single scene, that is an understatement. So if you're into BDSM, you're into Hellraiser, you're goth, or any of that type of stuff, the language is really going to transport you to the point where I actually caught myself saying, damn, I wish the lament configuration was real. And just like that, I saw the genius of Clive Barker's writing. I see now why Frank wanted that box so bad. And I'm so glad that this isn't real, because I'd probably be the person who opened the box, and I can't tell you that I'd actually try to make it back. But Frank did. And just like in the film, Julia has to feed him blood, and she brings home men from the bar, shoves them in there. Frank does the rest. But Frank is a pervert. He wants to screw his niece, Kirsty. Kirsty is just as much of a finer girl in the book as she is in the film. She ain't trying to have none of that. And just like in the film, when she winds up in the hospital and she has the puzzle box with her, the Cenobites pull up and say, we don't give a fuck that you did it by mistake. You opened the box. We pulled up, bitch. You got to come with us. But it's a little bit different. The Cenobites in the book are nowhere near as terrifying as they are in the film. And by that, I mean the things that they say. They are very stoic. They are non-binary. They are gender fluid. Even their voices, ones that look like males kind of sound feminine, and those who look like women kind of sound masculine, which is why I'm totally in favor of the remake of Hellraiser, or a reboot of Hellraiser, using a trans actor for Pinhead. It's more accurate to the way Pinhead was written in the book. And another spoiler for people who aren't aware, Pinhead isn't even the lead Cenobite in this. He's not even the worst. And so when you look at this book, as good as it is such a niche book. If you're not into BDSM, if you're not into the bondage specifically, sadism and masochism specifically, if you're not into taboo, you're not going to like this book. So imagine back in the late 80s, early 90s or so, trying to sell this as a film. And people are like, what is this? Or like, what's the story here? Because essentially what you have is a puzzle box. This really bad guy opens it. He gets what's coming to him. And then his equally evil lover helps bring him back. And then these two horrible people go after the most innocent person in the book. And she manages to trick the Cenobites into, basically claiming Frank again instead of her. And I think that the people back at the time didn't know what to do with this. So when we look at the film itself, Hellraiser itself, I'm amazed that that's what they got out of this. I'm amazed that someone looked at this book and said, no, Pinhead is the Cenobite that I want to focus on. Because I would have focused on the real ringleader. I mean, the real ringleader had tongues, a lap full of tongues that tumbled off her body as she stood up. She is the bad bitch. Like, I love the Hellbound priest, but something about the bitch that really was a leader of the Cenobites is so much worse. Imagine something worse than fucking Pinhead, y'all. So I understand how Clive Barker had a hard time getting that made into the film. But when I look at what they turned into a film, I'm amazed that they managed to pull that out. I think that the films are a masterpiece in and of themselves, but slightly different type of a masterpiece than what was in the book. I feel like nobody could handle what was in the book. I also feel like the reboot of Hellraiser got closer to it, but it still doesn't touch the perversion, the darkness, the sadism, the masochism that is described in this book in the most poetic, lyrical language you will ever read for something like this. I definitely give this book 5 stars, not because I'm just a fan of Hellraiser, but because the writing, as I said, it is absolutely beautiful, definitely cinematic, definitely poetic, to the point where if the lament configuration were real, I'd be in real trouble. So I highly recommend you pick up this book and give it a read. It's a quick read. If you're into the dark shit, you're going to love this. And this is the first and only book I've read by Clive Barker. I definitely think I'm going to head back to Barnes & Noble and get another one. What about you? Have you ever watched the Hellraiser series? Which film was your favorite? Which Cenobite was your favorite? And if you've read other works by Clive Barker, which one should I read next? Once again, my name is author R.L. Raintree. This is Reels and Reads. Thank you for watching.